were the heir apparent to O.J. Simpson, though, at USC, weren't you? You were going to be the man.
Yeah, probably me and about another 22 running backs that they were bringing in and promising them the same thing.
All
John
right,
McKay could sell at the time. You know, he was the coach. He was a really good salesman, and now that I know the way the world works, I got to think that I wasn't the only guy he was bringing in.
Being drafted, I think you were 5 overall in the 68 Dodgers draft. Now, a lot of people say that 68 draft is, for the Dodgers particularly, was one of the best draft classes ever. I mean, it was you, Ron Say, Davey Lopes, Bill Buckner. I think Tom Paciorek was in there. Garvey. So you guys came up through the minors together? Or?
Yeah, we all played rookie ball together, AAA together. I think out of that draft, there were more big league games played by that organization's draft picks than any other draft. Or maybe it was the 1970 AAA team that Tommy Lasorda managed in Spokane, Washington, that from that group of players, there were more games played in the major leagues than any other AAA team. I think that's what it might have been. Yeah, that's it was incredible. A good group. Everyone stayed healthy except for me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, you mentioned playing for Tommy Lasorda. You wound up playing for 3 Hall of Fame managers. What was it? It was Joe Torre, Walter Alston, and Dick Williams, right? So, I mean, I'm assuming that's where you kind of learned some things about becoming a manager, or
I didn't learn much from Dick Williams, and I learned a little from Joe Torre. He was a player manager when I first got there. But, I was with Tommy Lasorda in the minor leagues and in winter ball, and they were in very my younger years, when I was 18, 19, and 20, 21 or something like that. And so I was being a sponge at that time. And I guess, I learned from Tommy how you don't need to be my way or the highway, which was Dick Williams's way of managing. And and Joe was Joe was a player manager, so I guess he was a player's manager, because he was a player at the time. And he's still a dear friend. Tommy at 93 still a dear friend. So the relationships was more than what I might have learned or could have learned. And, I don't think you write down at the time what you learned from someone else. I think it's all a collective situation where you try to learn as much as you can every day that you're around. I'm still trying to learn, so we'll figure it out.
That's excellent. Now, when you went to Japan, what year did you start in Japan as a manager?
Well, I went there for the first time. I was the first non-Japanese to manage in the professional league in Japan. That was in 1995. That was the same year that Nomo left Japan and went to the Dodgers. So he became the rookie of the year, and I eventually became the manager of the year. Yeah.
Excellent. And that was with the Chiba Lotte Marines, I believe, right? That
Chiba Lotte Marines, exactly. Yep. Lotte's the kind of the candy and gum company of the Orient. It's a $60 billion family-owned business, and one of the things that they owned was a baseball team in Japan and a baseball team in Korea, and they do that mainly for an advertising vehicle, for the parent company.
Yeah, well, that makes sense, like with the Nippon Ham fighters and things like that. So, I mean, that's that makes sense.
Nippon Ham.
Yeah, exactly. When I was a kid, I always thought it was just the ham fighters, so I wasn't exactly sure why anybody wanted to
Right.
fight a
Nippon
ham.
ham, Japanese
Yeah.
ham.
Yeah. So, well, your second stint with the Marines, you won the Shiriki Award, right? You were the first non-Japanese guy to win that?
Yeah, Shoriki was the guy that was the president and chairman of the Yomiuri Shimbun, which is the largest newspaper publication in the world, a little larger than the New York Times. And he, at the time of his heyday in 1932 through I think 50, he was the guy that brought over Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Connie Mack,
Wow.
and others in 1934 to play a 16-game series against the amateur team that was put together in Japan. The amateur team did so well that they became a professional team called the Japanese Tokyo Giants, or now the Yomiuri Giants. That's where Hideki Matsui came from. Yep. And they're the biggest and best baseball franchise in Japan. That team, the amateurs that played against Babe Ruth and the crew in 1935, and this is pre-war, things weren't great between Japan and the rest of the world, but Shoriki took that team to America in 1935. They played 106 games against college and semi-pro and Negro team leagues. They won like in 97 and they lost 9, I think. And they did so well that they decided that they were good enough to be professionals. And that's how the Professional League of Japan, the NPB, was created. And an award called the Shoriki Award was given from about 1963 on. Yes.
Nice. And I know Matsui had won it. I know Sadaharu Oh had won it. So, I mean, that's a pretty prestigious thing. I mean, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah. As Japanese, you know, when you do as much as they do for the game of baseball, they get the award. That's for sure. And, you know, Matsui wore 55 because that was the number of home runs that Sadaharu hit in his career. And when he came to the professional leagues over there, they chose him as the best power hitter since Sadaharu and felt that he could break the record. He got to 54. He never quite broke the record. It was later broken when their commissioner of baseball, Kato, who became the ambassador to the United States after he got fired as the commissioner of baseball because he juiced the ball there in I guess 2014, and that's when a guy named Valentine broke the record that Sadaharu started, and that's part of the reason Kato got fired.
Wow, I mean that's interesting.
And then our commissioner got the same idea, and he juiced the ball, and so we're playing with a ball today that the outfielders don't know how to run down, and hitters hit fly balls to the infield, and it's going into the second deck. Yeah.
I was actually just going to mention that. I mean, what's your thought on that? I mean, like with what we're seeing now compared to when you played, when you managed. Just a quick thought on that. I mean, guys, it's just everybody's trying to swing and hit it into the next area code, and you know nobody's moving guys over. And I know as a manager, I grew up watching you manage. Just what's your thoughts on what you're seeing now? Guys with 210 batting averages, but hitting 38 home runs, and they're making all-star teams.
Well, I guess if you really saw me manage, I managed in Texas. I had a guy named Pete Incavilla who's struck out 186 times, hit 30 home runs a year. So, I mean, this isn't anything new. You just have better players. You know, there was a time when you had players like me who were little guys who weren't that good playing second base or playing left field or playing shortstop. And so it was their job to try to get the guy over every time they came up to the plate, you know, and try to get a single to right field. Now you have guys playing second base and shortstop who are actually capable of hitting the ball over the fence. So why the hell shouldn't they try?
That's a really good point. Really good point. So when you mentioned a manager managing the Rangers. If I remember, weren't you left there as the all-time wins leader for that team, and you kind of turned them around. like with a 25 game, swing and wins. What was it, an 85? I don't remember exactly what year that was, but I mean,
you've been reading up on me. I appreciate that, Chris.
I want to know what
in 80, I became a manager. I was 35 years old in 1985 and 86. Yeah, we had a big turnaround, and that was when we had Pete Incavilla and others. We got Pete Incavilla. He was the number one draft choice in the country. Montreal drafted him out of Oklahoma State. His agent decided that he didn't want to play in a foreign country, so he wouldn't sign with Montreal. And the Expos of that time actually traded him to the Texas Rangers before he was ever signed. That was never done before, never done since. There's now a rule called the Incavilla rule that prohibits the team from doing that. So, that's all kind of interesting stuff. And he hit 30 home runs as a rookie. In Major League Baseball, never playing a day in the minor leagues, just like his predecessor from Arizona State, Bob Horner, who was represented by the same agent, Bucky Woy, who took Bob Horner prematurely from the Atlanta Braves to Japan to play, and eventually Pete Incavilla actually went over and played in Japan also. So,
wow,
put those dots together. Yeah,
that's great. It's great. I mean, I'd like to get to the Mets a little bit.
Good.
Yeah, why not? So everybody knows about the disguise thing, and everybody knows that. I know exactly. I mean, I always wondered if you had a package of fake mustaches in your office, but I came later to learn from somebody who saw you speak at an event exactly what that was. So I was wondering if you wanted to mention, that it wasn't really a mustache, but kind of who stuck that on you.
They were the peel off stickers that you put underneath your eye. And they took one and put it here and put one there, made like it was a mustache. It wasn't supposed to be something that was a true disguise that no one ever know that I was there. It was something to bring levity to a team that was in a bit of a deer in a headlight situation. 3 of my coaches had been fired the week before. We were on a winning streak. There was a lot of chaos between, what was going on in the front office, being they fired my coaches, and what was going on in the dugout. And so I wanted guys to breathe a little and smile a little, and they did. And we won that game, and we went on, and we actually got to the playoffs that year after I had predicted that the team would go 40-15 in our next 55 games. And lo and behold, we played 55 games and we went 40-15. That's right, Chris.
That was
that's for all of your viewers to look up, because they can look it up now.
They can. I'm gonna go one further and say you went 43-20 in your next 63. You wound up winning 96 games.
Yeah, well, I didn't predict that. I only predicted.
I know.
Go 40-15.
Well, it's still a really good prediction. So another thing about the Mets that I always wondered was in the Subway Series when, obviously Clemens had hit Piazza earlier that season. In the Subway Series when Clemens threw that bat at Piazza, I just want to know. I mean, I'm a Yankee fan, and I was like, what is this guy doing? What? Come on. I can't imagine what was going through your mind and what the guys were thinking. I mean, like, what were you thinking when you saw that happen? Like, is this guy crazy or?
Well, it wasn't the whole bat. It was only the
I know.
Bat. And, it really at the time, it wasn't such a big deal other than it was Roger doing it. And Roger was the greatest pitcher of his time, and a guy that we had a tough time beating, but Mike had a tough time, never had a tough time hitting. Mike wore him out. He owned him. And he got the bat and threw it. It was like, of all the times that he pitched to Mike and Mike wore him out, the couple times that he didn't wear him out is one time Mike got hit in the head, which was the previous time that Roger pitched to him in a interleague Subway Series game. And in that time, and that's because this is one of the few times that Roger was able to get that 96-mile-an-hour fastball inside on Mike and break his bat, which he often tried to do, and Mike often took it, and then Roger would come back with a slider away, and Mike would hit a double in the gap or a home run. So, we were more surprised that Roger finally, got into Mike's kitchen, that we were surprised that he kind of picked up this thing and did as stupid an act as it was. But, again, you throw 22 ounces, 50 feet at someone. Is it really going to do damage? Is it really meant to do harm? I didn't think. I just thought it was a stupid act by a guy who was a little over pumped up for a World Series game.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, I know everybody kind of was wondering why he did that, but that actually makes a lot of sense. Was that but still odd to me.
It was odd because you've never seen it before. Odd
exactly.
is when it's an occurrence that you've either never see or hardly ever see. So that was odd. Yeah, and you'll probably never see it again.
Oh, it's true. It's one of the great things about baseball.
Now, guys have thrown their bat toward the pitcher, sometimes trying to hit them when they're swinging their bat. You might remember Bert Campaneris doing that in a World Series game. But never was the head of the bat propelled in the direction of the pitcher before, and probably never will be again. I don't know. When I say that, never will be again. Sometimes they go as far as shortstop. So
that's true.
Who knows?
Hey, well, you never know what you're going to see in any given game, and that's kind of one of the fun things about baseball.
Yes.
I also wanted to ask really quickly about in 2001 after September 11th. I know you guys did a lot of work with the NYPD, NYFD, and getting back on the field was a big thing for not only you guys, but for the city of New York. I was wondering if you want to talk about that a little bit and what that meant to you and what that meant to the city.
Well, I there was a lot of healing that was needed. 3,000 people plus were lost that day. And, baseball was one of those things where people could get together and do something that was other than getting together to go to a funeral. And it brought a lot of smiles, turned frowns upside down. A lot of people say it was the beginning of the recovery, and a lot of people are hoping that sports right now could do the same thing in these trying times. I hope they can, and I hope baseball can have a successful return. I don't know how the hell they're going to pull this one off.
I know.
I think they're going to need 69 miracles. If I could, use a little crazy cliche, but they're trying, and I'm pulling for them. And 2001 is almost 20 years ago, and I hope we did what we were supposed to do.
I think you did. I lived there. I lived not far from the World Trade Center then, and I knew it was just seeing you guys get back on the field it's like life is almost normal again. So there's a parallel there between this situation and that. That was obviously way more tragic, but just what we're seeing in the game, and like you said, we might need a miracle to see baseball return to normal this year, because I don't know if they're going to finish. I don't know if it's possible. So, just one last thing. With your broadcast career, is that something you want to get back into, or are you just kind of
get back into? I'm 70 years old, Chris. I don't get back into anything.
Really? All right.
Thank you very much. No. I did a lot of stuff on the air. I went from the game of the week and the Sunday Night Baseball and Baseball Tonight, and I started with ESPN in 1981. I did a couple of games for him. I was Bob Costas' first color man with NBC on what was then the Saturday game of the week, where you only had one national televised game. Kind of cool. And I went on to ESPN and SMY, and I did enough of that nonsense, and I had fun doing it. I'll tell you that.
So you're just kind of enjoying being a fan now and taking it easy, huh?
You bet. I'm enjoying doing what I do in life. I'm right here at Sacred Heart University, being the athletic director, trying to get our coaches and players on the same page to figure out what we're going to do moving forward. And I'm getting my handicap down. And that's a good thing.
That's the most important thing. So, listen, Mr. Valentine, I want to thank you for coming on.
Okay, Chris.
Always been an honor.
Enjoy yourself.
I'm going to try. Let's hope we see some baseball this year, and take care.
Put it together, bro. Thanks a lot.
I will.